So I'm going to share with you another example of listening. This one was shared by some friends of mine who really became very good in their family and professional communication. This is kind of a fun conversation with a young son who felt treated unfairly. And notice how his mother not only listened and validated her son's emotions, but then used them to create a learning experience. So this is the story as she recounted it and shared it with me. "We want to stay and watch the rest of the rodeo," pleaded Jeffrey. "Our two oldest sons had finished their rides, and my husband Jay and I wanted to go home." "Tom's dad said we could stay and ride home with them," coaxed Michael, our second son. Well, we left, taking our youngest son, Stephen, who was too young to stay, but not too young to object. "I want to stay too," he insisted. "How come Jeffrey and Michael get to stay and I have to go home?" Well, a simple "because they're older and they were in the rodeo" wasn't sufficient. By the time Jay, Stephen, and I had reached the car, Stephen was crying. "It's not fair," he repeated over and over. "It really doesn't seem fair, does it?" I said. "No, it doesn't," Stephen retorted. "And it's easy to see you're angry about this." "Yes, I am. I always get left out. It's just not fair." "Stephen, what else isn't fair?" "Everything," he shouted. "Tell me about other times things didn't seem fair to you." "Well, like the time Jeffrey and Michael got to go swimming with their friends and I had to stay home." "Okay. Are there some other times?" Well, of course, he could think of a lot, and with a little bit of encouragement, he talked about all of the unfairness that he felt as the youngest of three brothers on our 15-minute drive home. How he always had the last turn and was sometimes left out entirely. He talked first through sobs and then through quieter tears. Finally, he had talked to the point that I began to interject a little bit of humor. "I can see how things are unfair. Not only do they get to do more because they're older, but they started sooner than you, so they have more things than you." "That's right," Stephen agreed. "Like toys. Think about all the toys Jeffrey had first," I said. "Yeah, that's right." "And what about diapers? Just think of all the diapers that Michael used before you were even born." Stephen began to laugh. He still had more to say, and he kept talking. But he wasn't upset anymore. Jay and I thought the problem was solved through our listening, but then we were surprised the next day when our youngest son cleared his throat and said to his older brothers, "By the way, Jeffrey and Michael, Mom, Dad, and I had a good talk about what's unfair to me, and I think there's some things you guys need to hear." He proceeded to relate to them some of the unfairness he felt. The older boys did not interrupt. When he was finished, his matter-of-fact tone told all of us that the matter was closed.